What up, sports fans of Waxon Wednesday? Jake Waxman, Tyler Lavalette, Two Guys Talk Sports. Let's go. All right. So first, we'll start off with some NFL talk. Okay. I was at the ballpark with my man Tyler. We were watching a couple of softball games in a softball tournament between various fire departments and police departments around close to around where the two of us live. And then I remember checking NFL score. I remember checking my fantasy football score, and I was like, wow, Raheem Mostert's got me 45 points. I'm like, wow, has he had a big day? Then I go to take a look, and I see the final score of the Dolphins Broncos game in it. And get this, 70-20, the final score. That's right. The Dolphins put up 70 points on the Denver Broncos. That is, in today's NFL, even with great offenses, that's almost unheard of. Like, very rarely does that happen. And me and Tyler were just shocked when we saw that. And the thing is, again, it's very rare in this day and age. Like, even because NFL defenses are much stronger compared to college football defenses. Yet, the Broncos defense got diced. That you can definitely say. I mean, not only did they get beat by Miami's starters, but also Miami's backups had a day with the Broncos defense. They put up points and yardage against all the starters of the Broncos defense. Granted, it was not all their fault, as the Broncos offense didn't do much to help, really, despite scoring 20 points. Nowhere near enough. But of course, my thoughts on that game was, how does that happen? How does that happen? It's been decades since we had a game where a team put up 70 points, and the most in one NFL game was put up, and it was in one of the NFL championships between the Chicago Bears and the Washington Redskins. The Bears, who historically have never been known for offense, put up 73 against a very good Washington Redskins team way back then, and that was to claim an NFL championship. And of course, there was another game where 72 was scored, but it had been decades since we had seen over 70 points in an NFL game. And correct me if I got any dates or I missed any information. I apologize there. So I was shocked, obviously, just blown away by how a modern day NFL defense, not even just a great one, but even just an okay modern NFL defense, I was just shocked by how an NFL defense in general could give up 70 points. And then my other thought is this. Man, the Miami Dolphins are really, really good. If you can put up 70 in one game with both your starters and backups combined, you got a deep team. The Miami Dolphins, they are deep. They got some depth. They got depth on that team. It's not just, Tua Tagovailoa, Raheem Mostert, who was a beast in that game with 4 touchdowns, and then you got, of course, Tyreek Hill. And by the way, the Dolphins put up 70 points without their second best wide receiver in Jalen Waddle. He was absent in this game, and the Dolphins still put up 70. That's wow. This Miami Dolphins team, they are very, very good. A lot of talent, a lot of depth. Could this be a Dolphins team that goes all the way this year? They may very well have the pieces not only to win the AFC, but potentially win the Super Bowl this year. We'll see how good they are. Mike McDaniel, he is no slouch. By the way, did you guys know he used to be the Denver Broncos ball boy? And now years later, he's gone on to become a head coach, and a damn good head coach. Smart guy, too. He's engineering this Miami Dolphins team and strategies and coaching techniques. He's engineering it up to perfection. So, yes, the Broncos did get embarrassed, but also this Dolphins team, they're for real. They're good. And I have to, I feel kind of foolish for not picking them as a playoff lock because they look like one. And in fact, I think they might even be, they look more poised to take the AFC South than the Bills do. Or not the AFC South, the AFC East. Sorry, AFC East. And potentially even more. They could go all the way this year with the talent and depth. It all comes down, can they stay injury-free, Can they continue to do what they've been doing? I mean, they got a great offense and a strong defense, too. So This is a team that, if you look at teams that could make a Super Bowl run, Miami's one of them for sure. Watch out for those Dolphins. They get in the playoffs, they'll be very dangerous. Which, looking at them the way they're playing right now, I think they'll get to the playoffs, and they'll be tough to beat, especially with that powerful and potent offense and all that depth they've got. Miami, watch out for the Fins. They're for real. So that's just my thoughts on that 70-20 blowout. The Miami Dolphins just historically putting a foot into the Broncos' ass, just kicking the Broncos' ass. All right, next subject. Okay, there's something that I saw online, and I just got to talk about this. Okay, every once in a while this keeps popping up since everyone talks about the Bears fired Lovie Smith when he went 10-6 in his final season as the Bears head coach, which that is true. He did go 10-6 and was fired after a 10-6 season in 2012. All right, but everyone's like, ever since they fired one winning season, and everyone links it to the Bears firing Lovie Smith. That's the reason why. You know what? Get the hell out of here with that. Okay, I'm just going to debunk that. Everyone thinks it's the karma of the game, or everyone who posts about the Bears having only one winning season since firing Lovie Smith. They think this is like the karma of the game affecting the Chicago Bears. No. Okay, and I don't want to defend the Chicago Bears because the management has screwed up a lot of things. But you know what? Lovie Smith is not the reason why, or firing Lovie Smith is not the reason why the Bears have only had one season since he was fired back in 2012. No. Or have had one season where they made the playoffs. Or 2 seasons, I should say. 2 seasons. Look, you want to know the big reason why the Bears have not found success in the last decade? Ownership and management. That is the big reason why. And for the record, for those of you who arguing saying the Bears should not have fired Lovie Smith, let me educate you on something. Now, Lovie Smith was a good coach. Don't get me wrong. Good, one of the best coaches in Bears history. You can make that case. But here's the thing. He was the head coach of the Chicago Bears for 9 seasons. He made the playoffs 3 of those 9 seasons. Only 3 times. Of course, one of those seasons they went to the Super Bowl, and another they went to the NFC Championship game back in 2011, I think it was. And in his final season, they did go 10-6. But in his final season, they did not make the playoffs. They missed the postseason. The Vikings, who were also 10-6, they made the playoffs instead because the tiebreaker went to the Vikings because they beat the Bears in their second meeting between those two sides, in the annual 2 meetings between both of those 2 teams. And you know what? At that season, he was expected at the very least to make the playoffs. So if he had made the playoffs in 2012 and the Bears had fired him after the outcome of the playoffs for the Bears, okay, it would have been definitely a stupid move. But you know what? They fired him in 2012 because he didn't make the postseason. And you know what? That was not a dumb move. It was time to move on from Lovie Smith. The Bears were actually in the right to let him go. That was the right move because, like I said, he only made the playoffs 3 of the 9 seasons he was there. And it was tough. And they had last made it in 2010. But the last 2 seasons that Lovie was there, they missed the playoffs. By the way, something to keep in mind, they had a strong winning streak going in the 2011 regular season and missed the playoffs because Cutler had an injury. And then 2012, they started the season 7-1 and only won 3 games afterwards. Part of it is they had an easy schedule at the start, and then once they faced the tough teams, they were not good. But they had but you know what? And also, another thing that I got to point out, Lovie had a lot of trouble getting a good offensive coordinator. All right, he never really got an offensive coordinator that helped the Bears build a strong offense. And part of the reason the big reason why the Bears went to the Super Bowl in 2007 was because of Riverboat Rivera, or Ron Rivera, the defensive coordinator at the time. His defenses were so good. His defenses were the reason why the Bears got to the Super Bowl in 2007. And then after that Super Bowl, Lovie let him go, and the defenses were never the same after that. Okay, there were some good ones, but they were nowhere near as good as that 06 defense. And then heading to the Super Bowl in 07. That was a great defense. So, no. Here's the thing. What really led to the Bears of the State was who they hired after Lovie. When they let go of Lovie, they had a chance to get a coach by the name of Bruce Arians, but they passed up on him because he refused to keep the coaching staff in place. And instead, they hired Mark Trestman, which, newsflash, he did not keep the coaching staff that was already in place anyways. So it's been bad hires after bad hires that have led the Bears to the state. Not the fact that they fired Lovie Smith. Okay, it was his time to go, but who the Bears replaced him with, that was a bad decision. Getting Mark Trestman was a very bad decision, and the coaches that they have hired afterwards, almost as worse. And right now, Matt Eberflus is on his way to joining that list, to say the least. So, when you see that story of like, oh, the Bears have only had one winning season since firing Lovie Smith, it's not because of football karma for firing Lovie or because they're cursed for firing Lovie. It's because of management and ownership not hiring the right personnel to go forward with. Simple as that. All right? And when they did fire Lovie Smith, honestly, it was the right move at the time because he had been there 9 seasons and there was a lack of success going on. And by the way, he was not consistently beating Green Bay either, to add to it. So what really led the Bears down this path? Bad ownership and bad management decisions. So that is what. So when I hear like, oh, so this is what I personally think when I hear when I see these posts about the Bears having one winning season since Lovie Smith was fired. It's not because they fired Lovie Smith. It's because of who they replaced him with afterwards and who they kept hiring afterwards. That's where that mess began. Bad management and a bad ownership and a bad culture will do that to a football team. That's what I have to say about this subject. All right, moving on. Sports fans, good old game of hockey returns tomorrow. That's right. Preseason hockey, of course. So, but, it's good to have hockey back, even if it is preseason. So, Blackhawks taking on the Blues tomorrow. So my thoughts are this. All right, how much are they going to play how much are they going to let Connor Bedard play in this preseason? And will we see other prospects who are returning to college, like Oliver Moore, for example? I'm really curious to see what kind of player he's going to be. He's going to return to college, of course, but will he play some preseason hockey? That's a question I have. And what will we see out of him if he plays? And same with Connor Bedard. What can we expect out of him in this first season based on what we see in the preseason? Those are some of the things that I am looking forward to seeing with this Blackhawks team starting in preseason and a couple of games, of course. And then the regular season begins on the 10th. They're on the road at Pittsburgh, where Connor Bedard will make his debut. So I'm really curious to see what the Blackhawks have in their pipeline and some of these guys that they just drafted. For the first time in a while, it's been a rough few years for the Blackhawks since missing the playoffs for the first time in 2018, and then all that stuff. But for the first time in a while, there's hope for the future for the Blackhawks, and there's something to be excited about. And I am looking forward to seeing what these prospects like Connor Bedard, Oliver Moore. I'm excited to see what the future holds, and it starts with this preseason. So a lot to be excited about. And hey, first season may not go so well, and that's okay. Got to develop the players. And it all begins with preseason. So very curious to see what Connor Bedard brings to the table for that first season and what guys like Oliver Moore. What are we going to see from them in this preseason? If he does play, of course. I don't know if college prospects are allowed to play in the preseason, but correct me if I'm wrong. But if he does play, I'm curious to see what he brings to the table. And expectations for Connor Bedard. What can we expect early on? All right, on to this day in sports history. And on this day, the 27th of September, 1972, the first ever NHL exhibition game at Nassau Coliseum. The New York Rangers beat the New York Islanders 6-4. Remember, sports fans, if you got a question for me this upcoming week, just leave it down below, and it may be the question that I answer this upcoming week. All right, sports fans, that is all I got for this week's Wax on Wednesday. Thank you so much for watching. Jake Waxfan from Two Guys Talk Sports, signing off.